Hey guys, Silver Stacker Cracker here, Norman, Oklahoma at Liberty Coin and Gold. We're here with Les, the owner.
How's it
You're
going, guys?
you're getting the first tour. So, Les, tell me about your business. Tell me about the gold and silver. How's it doing?
Well, obviously, right now it's going up pretty good. Gold's in particularly high demand. Silver is having some issues right now, but that's
Yeah.
more than likely going to turn around here pretty soon. About my store, I got started back in 2007. Interesting story. I got hurt at work. I was a field service technician for the local cable company, Cox Communications.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sell them
And
a lot of parts.
yeah, and was up on a pole, got electrocuted.
Oh,
Woke up on the ground sometime later with a compound ankle fracture, and spent, I don't know, 4 months in bed for that thing to get healed up, and I was never going to be able to do that again. And so I went back to school and pursued a double degree in poli-sci and economics. When I started studying economics, I was like, wow, is this really how our system works? I was like, that can't be right. And it is. Our monetary system and our financial system is precarious at best. It's by design incredibly leveraged. And so I was like, I told my wife, I was like, hon, I think we ought to start putting our savings in gold and silver. And so we started doing that. And the place that I would go to in Oklahoma City, Brown's Coin and Stamp,
yeah.
a place with a lot of history. The Brown family, very known in numismatic circles. And did that, and it worked out pretty good. And then one day, Jerry Brown died, and in 2010, in December of 2010, and I decided to start my own business in Norman, a place that was that did large volume that had small margins. So I got started in 2011, and we've been very blessed ever since. There used to be 6 places in Norman that would do what we do, and now it's us. So
Just you guys.
now it's us.
Well, you can't beat that. That's competition you don't need. So.
Well, we don't mind competition. It keeps everybody honest.
Right.
But we are thankful and blessed that the community has chosen us as their source. So, and we take that responsibility very seriously.
So Les, I know a lot of my viewers, they ask me questions, and of course I don't know near what most of them even know, or you, but they want to know. We've got gold a little over 3,300 right now, and I think silver's a little over 3,300 this morning. Is that right?
It's closed yesterday at roughly 33.15.
33.15. So,
Yes.
what do you think it's going to do in the future? I mean, I've read and heard that we could go 40 an ounce on silver this year, maybe 50, and then I've heard 3,700 on gold. So, I mean, with what's going on economically in this country, and our president's trying to save us, but he can't do it in 4 years. So, what do you think it's going to do? What do we need to do as stackers to prepare for all this?
Dollar cost average. End of story. If you get into picking peaks and valleys, you're going to get crippled. End of story. There is no better way to go about it than a disciplined approach at dollar cost averaging. It is the only way. You can pyramid, right? So you can go, okay, well, I'm going to step into the market at this point here, and I'm going to start dollar cost averaging, this. I'm going to buy silver once every other week because that's how I get paychecks, and I'm going to put 10% of it into silver. But then all of a sudden silver starts going down. Well, then you might decide, well, I might start putting, instead of $100 every paycheck or 10%, I might do 15% or $300 or $400. And as it goes down, you buy more and more and more. That's certainly a good strategy. But to try to pick peaks and valleys, predicting the future, I don't work at JP Morgan, so I don't know what it's going to do, right? I'm not, I'm not head of metals trading at JP Morgan, so I wouldn't have a clue as to what the future holds. I don't, I don't know when things are going to turn around and all the shorts are going to be turned into longs and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just a disciplined dollar cost averager. And when you do that, what is interesting is that when the value of your asset goes down, you're happy. Isn't that strange? So you're dollar cost averaging into silver and it's at, let's say it's at $33. And then it goes down to $32. And you're not upset necessarily that all the silver that you bought is now only worth $32. You're happy because you can buy more silver for less worthless paper.
Good point. Just like 2 weeks ago when it bottom dropped out of gold and silver and everybody was in a panic.
Right.
And
it's on sale.
What we do?
You
we
liked it.
Silver.
You liked it at 33.
Yeah.
So what the hell's wrong with it at 32 then?
Right.
It's even better, yes.
Right.
It's even a better buy. And so it's just when you have a intelligent, disciplined approach, then those things become more clear. And if silver went down to $28 in 3 weeks from now, well, you would be buying more silver because it's on sale.
Well, everybody talks about the ratios.
Sure.
I mean, they're all going, hey, wait till it hits 70 to 1 and 80 to 1. I don't know if we're ever going to see that. Could we see that, you think, again?
70 to 1?
71, 80 to 1?
Right.
I was happy when it was 98 to 1.
It looks like it's almost exactly 100 to 1 right now. I mean, 33. It closed yesterday at 33.18 and at 3,318 for gold and 3,305 for silver. So that's almost exactly 100 to 1. And I've been telling customers for a decade now that the moment it went over 80, I've been telling customers to buy silver. Start dollar cost averaging into silver. Let the gold silver ratio tell you what you ought to be buying. Have I been wrong for the last 10 years? Certainly could be, right? Certainly could be. I did preface that with, here's the last 40-year chart of the GSR. If the future looks anything like the past, one should probably be dollar cost averaging into silver right now. Maybe trading in their gold for silver and then dollar cost average into silver. And educate your customers as much as you can. Right now, what is happening is central banks are buying gold. Central banks can't buy silver, really, because it takes up too much space.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
It takes up too much space.
Right.
Now, I mean, that's almost begging the question. Well, yeah, it takes up too much space because it's 100 to 1. It's not a real ratio. That's not what silver is actually worth versus gold. Gold is overvalued against silver, or silver is undervalued against gold, whichever way you would like to say it, or maybe a mixture of both. So that's why central banks wouldn't be interested in buying silver, but if they did buy silver, then all of a sudden it would go back to 40 to 1 or 30 to 1. I mean, it got to 31 to 1 in 2011.
Yeah, wow.
But still, even at 31 to 1, which is a generational low in the GSR, that's still a lot of room.
So,
that's still 31 more times the volume of space as gold. So you can see why gold has this thing working for it that silver doesn't. It's just a space issue. You you wonder why. Well, okay, I mean, platinum used to be worth twice gold. Why didn't central banks buy platinum or palladium or something like that? Well, it has no pedigree as money. It's not money.
That is very, very true.
And
very
so
true.
you could say, well, they should buy rhodium then. Rhodium is,
Oof.
you know.
Yeah, rhodium's outrageous.
Well, I mean, at one time it was over $20,000.
Yeah.
20,000 an ounce. So they could save a lot of space if they would just buy rhodium. It's not money.
Yep.
It has no pedigree as money. Gold is money. Just ask all the central banks.
So should stackers and guys that, this is a hedge against inflation, the dollar, should they trade the silver that they got now for gold with where the price is right now?
Ooh.
Or should we wait till that comes down a little bit? I will say this, I traded 200 ounces of silver and I got me some gold, got some more gold.
Sure.
But I got it when it was a decent price. And, it's one of those things. Did I do the right thing? Did I not?
The term a decent price.
Yeah, right. You don't know.
Is a hindsight.
Right.
It can only be said in hindsight.
Yeah.
Right. I got it at a decent price.
Oh, I bought it at spot. No, you didn't. You absolutely did not buy it at spot. And that's another big question that a lot of viewers, not a lot of new people that come on the channel, and they're like, hey, gold's $3,300, silver's $33, but when I go online and I look it up online, they're $38 for a silver eagle and $40 for a Britannia or something like that, Krugerrand, whatever. But they just don't understand that you guys can't just sell at spot price. You got to make a living, so that you're never going to buy unless you just get lucky, or you buy something that's counterfeited. You're never going to buy spot.
We don't get to buy it
right
at spot.
No.
So if the only time that we would get to be able to buy it at spot, or maybe some back of spot, is if we bought it from the public. But everything that we have to buy wholesale, that's all over spot. We have to pay a premium for all of it as well.
Right.
And so as the price moves up, as gold goes to 3,300, then the margins on that in a dollar value has to grow larger as well. So when gold was at 1,080, when it bottomed out, what was that, 6, 7, 8 years ago? Yeah. A gold Krugerrand was probably about $40 to $60 over retail. Maple Leaf was maybe $60, $70 over, and a Gold Eagle was about 80 over, 70 to 80 over spot at 1,000. So if you bring that out at 1,100, which is exactly 1/3 the price that it closed at yesterday, and gold American Eagles were 80 over spot at the time, well, then that means they ought to be 3 times 80. The premium ought to be 3 times 80, but they're not. In fact, we sell gold American Eagles right now at 120 to 130 over. But they're costing us 3 times as much.
Right.
So what has happened to the dealer's margin? It's got slashed in half.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Right.
And that's what's wonderful. That's what I love about this industry, is that it is so transparent. Where if you walk into our shop, we will tell you that the real thing that you want to know is not necessarily just what the premium is. What you want to know is what the spread is. Okay, Les, I come in, I got to pay $130 over spot for this Gold Eagle today. But if I bring it back in tomorrow, what will you pay me for it? And so, and generally speaking, in our industry, that's very transparent. People are able to really hold their money together if they go to a good shop that will be open and transparent with those numbers.
So when you talk about the Krugerrands, the Eagles, whether it be silver or gold, the Maple Leafs, I mean, what do you feel is for a stacker in the United States, and we'll talk about all over the world since we do have viewers everywhere. What's the best currency coin to stack? I mean, whether it be a 1 ounce, half ounce, quarter ounce. I mean, what's currency? Of course, you're not going to get a lot of that in quarter ounce, but the 1 ounce. Let's just stick with that.
Well,
what's the best one?
There's two stories to tell here. There's a silver story and then there's a gold story. Okay, so let's start off with silver. There's been a debate about, okay, should I pay the higher premium for silver American Eagles rather than like 1 ounce generic buffaloes, or maybe a slightly lower premium for the other sovereign coins, the Maple Leaves and the Britannias and stuff like that. And that's a discussion that people have, and they have honest disagreements about it. Like, okay, well, I can have more silver for the same amount of Federal Reserve notes if I buy generic 1 ounce buffaloes. And again, the real important thing to ask yourself is, weight, is that everything, or is liquidity a part of this equation too? And so I tell people, yes, but if you look at the overall turnaround, like what you pay for it versus what you sell it for, sometimes it can be a lot better for Silver Eagles. And a lot of my customers like, well, I prefer the weight, not
right.
WAIT, but
right.
So I want more volume of silver for the same. Okay, that's a valid answer. But the people who bought silver American Eagles, certainly during COVID and 2021, 2022, and 2023, boy, did they get paid. At one time, wholesale price on Silver Eagles was like $12 over spot. I could sell to wholesalers Silver American Eagles for $12 over spot.
Wow.
And spot was like, $24. So that's 50% over spot. Wholesalers were willing to pay 50%
wow.
over spot for Silver American Eagles. So it's just like in the coin market, the premium high value coins always tend to perform better than your mid and certainly your lower tiers, because the people that can afford them even when times are not so good.
Yeah, well, that's something to talk about. Now that you bring that up, I mean, people get even with apps and stuff on their phones, and they check it. I've been guilty just for fun to check it, and then, oh, you got a coin that's worth $20,000, and then they bring it into you, and what happens then?
Yeah, well, we've gotten really good at breaking bad news to people, and I think it probably started about 2017, 2018, where people would start digging in their pocket, taking a picture of something that was pocket change in their pocket, putting it on Etsy and saying it and listing it for like $5,000
or eBay.
And so Google would send people would send all the traffic to those places and then confuse people into thinking that their coin was worth $5,000. And that's when we have to tell people, listen, you can ask whatever you want to for whatever you want to on the internet. And these people are just looking for clicks. And so it has caused us a mountain of problems in the last 7-8 years.
Yeah, and it's
really
sad because they're getting the wrong information.
Yeah,
like we brought some stuff in. If you want to take a look at it and see what you think, I mean, it's let's see, what do we got here? That's a 13 Indian head, and you might as well check them while you're here. But we did bring some other stuff as examples. If you guys could see this, and we'll change the picture a little bit, but we want to use these to kind of get an idea, because we got a bunch of junk probably over here and some Kennedys and stuff. People are very confused about Kennedys. They think 1980 Kennedy's worth $1 million if it's in pristine condition.
Yeah.
We keep them because we like them and they're fun. But
They're unique.
what happens if, let's say, you go to get a coin and you don't check it or they don't check it? What are the possibilities that could be a counterfeit coin? And which ones, especially of the Indian heads, would be the most counterfeited? The 5?
Well, we don't see a lot of counterfeits of those. But I would like to jump back to our discussion on exactly. We'll deal with that in a second. Let me jump back to what I did not finish.
Okay.
There's 2 discussions about what to buy and how to buy it on gold and silver. So we've already kind of touched on silver. A lot of times you get the stuff that you get paid for the premium stuff on the back end. Now, I would say that for Silver Eagles, just straight bullion. Then you can kind of get into the higher premium stuff, like the koalas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I
you're
don't have one
about
of
to
those.
pay $15 over spot on a kookaburra, and when you bring it back into a retailer, into a dealer, they're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, you're going to get disappointed.
You're going to get disappointed. Kookaburras are beautiful coins, and own one because they're beautiful and they're well struck. And Perth does an incredible job. Own them for the artistic ability that they have and the dedication that they have to their craft.
Yes.
But don't necessarily stack them.
Okay,
It has
gotcha.
been my experience that you would be better off because you have a substitute, right? Because there's a substitute. You could buy, rolls of kookaburras, or you could buy tubes of Silver American Eagles. And you will perform better on the Silver American Eagles. That has been my experience.
Yeah, difference between stacking and collecting, which we collect a lot of those beautiful coins. The big giant 5-ounce. What is it, Renee?
America the Beautiful.
We've got one of those. I've got
Mount Rushmore.
it's huge, Mount Rushmore,
Yep.
and then we have what is it? The galleries, Germania. It's a big. They said they only minted like 500 of them. Anyway, I can't remember. I can't pronounce the name, and but it's beautiful. But we don't do that necessarily as an investment to make money, because you do pay quite a bit more for that stuff.
Right.
Ungodly amount of more. But,
And the spread,
Right.
again, right?
Huge.
The spread is the information you need to know. So last year about to charge me $15 over for this kookaburra. What are you going to pay me for it? Probably about 2 over.
yeah.
So why the $13 spread? Because it takes me forever, right? How long do we as a dealer do we have to own it before we can sell it again? The liquidity issue. So yes, it has a higher premium, but we have to own it longer, and so that means our spreads have to be wider. And the stacker, the investor, I don't like that word when it comes to gold and silver, because it's not really an investment.
Right.
It's a savings, and there's a difference. But we'll use that term for now. The investor in gold and silver, should they just start stacking up a bunch of, koalas or whatever, kookaburras, I wouldn't recommend it. I would point them maybe to Silver Eagles or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's the best bartering tool too.
Right.
If something were to happen, and it will eventually, and, the bartering tools are going to be the
Well, the
currency
insurance,
coins. You know?
certainly the insurance policy against economic or monetary catastrophe is far and away junk silver, constitutional
Yeah.
silver. Right?
Yeah, I,
mean,
haven't done that yet, but
and-
I plan on it. So.
Well, we tell people to start there. And that is part of the silver and gold, what should I buy story. And so we tell people to start there. We advise our clients that they should have, for a family of four, about $250 face value in constitutional silver. Okay. Why is that? Well, because that would have been at the time that I engineered it, is about $4,000 to $4,500 in purchasing power. It's certainly a lot more now. The silver is at $33, but at the time that I was doing it, it was about $4,000 to $4,500 in purchasing power. And so for small transactions, that would last the person quite some time for a family of four. I mean, if we're buying food and sundries and stuff like that, then that is the insurance policy against something that you have no control over, which does not mean that you have some tinfoil hat on, that you're some sort of wild-eyed conspiracy theorist. We have insurance on our cars, but we can control how much we drive, how we drive, and where we drive.
Right.
But we have insurance on our vehicles. We have health insurance, but we personally control what we eat, what kind of exercise we do. So we have a lot of control over our own health, but we still insure it. We have life insurance, but we can control if we do base jumping or jumping out of airplanes or anything like that, we can control all of that.
Right.
But we're a conspiracy theorist if we buy an insurance policy against something that we have no control over, which, by the way, has happened to pretty much every other country in the world.
Right.
So, and it's even happened to us. It just happened to us a long time ago. It was called the Continental, and Washington famously said it took a wagon full of money to buy a wagon full of provisions. So this has already happened in this country once. And so you should not feel like, embarrassed at all about wanting to be able to provide for you and your family in the event that something bad happens.
All right, we're back to Les, and he's getting ready to check out some goodies here, guys. All right, back to the main man right here.
What would you like me to look at first?
Well, you just pick, because, I think all the viewers want to check out. I mean, I'm sure there's a few of us that have the Indian heads, and, it's always something interesting. That's an interesting one there. So you get right after it and just give us a little learning lesson here.
Sure.
So a lot of people, Les, think that these would be solid gold. Is that correct? These old coins, are these solid?
Yes, they
Okay.
are solid gold.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that they're pure gold.
Right.
Which
Okay.
should be differentiated. That's
Right.
not the same thing. So
Right.
yeah, they're 90% gold.
Okay.
10% copper. But yes, they are solid gold. So you've got a couple of pretty good examples here of a Liberty Head, $5 half eagle, and an Indian Head half eagle. Both of them, I would guess, probably AU.
I mean, what would you? I mean, as a dealer on something like this, just for viewers' sake, what would a dealer usually pay for either one of these coins? Just a ballpark. It doesn't have to be right on the money, but
Sure. Well, I think your viewers should know that that will vary.
yes,
Okay, that is the margin and the spreads will vary based on market conditions. And so, for example, what was it, 8, 9 years ago? We, meaning the United States, started getting flooded, maybe a strong word, but we started having a huge influx of pre-33 US gold from Europe. And at one point, the premiums on St. Gaudens, double eagles, $20 gold eagles, and Liberty heads were lower than brand new gold American eagles. So the 2018
Yeah.
gold American eagle was more expensive than a St. Gaudens per ounce. Yes.
Wow.
The St. Gaudens is, not quite a Troy
good teaching
ounce.
lesson. Yeah,
But so when people came in to sell their Saints or their Liberty Head double eagles, they were very disappointed that we were at like 95% of spot on them. But that's because they're everywhere, and the market is, being flooded is kind of a strong term, but that's kind of what happened. And so what the spreads are and the premiums are can not only be affected by the gold price, obviously, but it can be affected by the market conditions for that particular type and variety of coin. Even though it's very much related to bullion, the premium is related to supply and demand of that particular thing. And so pre-33 a lot of times will follow in the same direction. So when gold goes up, like it is now, to like all-time highs, guess what everybody wants to do? They want to sell.
right.
Okay? By and large, on average, the aggregate, people will sell when they have made a profit. And so certainly if they bought it, $2,000 an ounce at $3,300, they're probably way above water, and so they come in to sell. So that means the supply, the dealers and wholesalers will have a huge supply of these items. And what happens to the premium? It goes down. And so all of a sudden,
Supply and demand, huh?
we may be back of spot for pre-33 US gold. That can happen. And right now, it's happening.
Ah,
Because there's a lot of it. People, the market for these retail items have hit a saturation level to where now the premiums have gone down substantially. It'll be different, possibly regionally. Maybe in the Northeast could be very different than Texas and Oklahoma versus Florida and California. Okay, so regionally, those premiums can be slightly different. But as a market in a whole, across the country, at least in the United States, it's pretty, it's very close. So a lot of dealers, can be back of spot on pre-33 U.S. gold, particularly, very common dates like the 1904 Liberty Head double eagle. In AU condition, you're probably looking at 95% of spot.